Cross-functional work sounds collaborative, but in practice, it often breaks down when leaders stay anchored in their own lens. Today, I'm joined by Jonathan Bissell, an executive coach and organizational consultant who helps leaders and teams build alignment and operate with greater clarity and cohesion. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks for having me on.
Jonathan, what prevents leaders or teams from taking off the functional hat when working across functions? And how can they shift that behavior?
It's such a great question, Cindy. The truth is, most functional leaders are rarely going to take off their functional leader hat. That's their domain expertise. That's what they've been trained in. That's where they spend most of their time. So rather than try to fight that battle, really what we want to do is invite leaders to put on other hats. So there's not just the functional domain hat, but there's also the people leader hat, which is going to drive a different type of decision. There's the business leader hat, which is about how do the decisions that I make, how do they impact processes, systems, the finances of the organization? And then ultimately, there's the organizational leader hat. What's best for the organization as a whole, not only where we are now, but for where we're going. Again, rather than fighting this kind of uphill battle to get leaders to take off the functional hat, we want to invite them to widen their lens and recognize that different hats are needed for different decisions in different contexts. And as they move up the ladder and get promoted into higher and higher leadership roles, ultimately, the one hat that they should always be wearing is the organizational leader hat. What's best for the organization? And sometimes that's going to conflict with what's best for their functional area, and they need to be willing to recognize that and put on that hat and make that decision for what's best for the organization. When you have a whole leadership team of leaders who are committed to wearing that organizational leader hat that drives their best decision making above every other hat that they might wear, that's where you get a really aligned and effective leadership team that's going to transform an organization. And that's going to require that CEO or that board to really hold those leaders accountable to staying focused and aligned with what's best for the organization.
Jonathan, thank you for that perspective. The lens a leader brings into the room shapes the outcomes. Broadening that lens makes cross-functional collaboration effective. For more conversations with leaders and coaches, subscribe to the Alefitt channel.